As you can see from the video, basically the vision of WACCBIP was to create a hub for science and a hub for young people. And what we've been trying to do over the years is to mobilize the young talent on the continent, to create an interest in science, to provide an environment that would support the development of science and support the development of the talents that we have on the continent. And I must say that if you look at what we've done since 2014, it has completely exceeded our expectations. When myself and a few colleagues started this in 2014, we had big dreams, but we didn't know how quickly we would get there. And I think that based on what we have seen today and over the last few months about what WACCBIP is doing, it really vindicates our vision and also vindicates the investments that the government of Ghana and all our funding partners have made into this center. This year, the conference theme is on building sustainable research ecosystems in Africa, the lessons that we've learned from the pandemic. For me and WACCBIP as a whole, we have learned several lessons from this pandemic, but three key ones. The first one, I think, is that, which is the good one, the good feel one, is that African scientists actually have a lot to offer. If you look at what scientists have done across the continent when this pandemic hit, a pandemic that came from nowhere that we were not prepared for, African scientists have stood up, okay, from testing millions and millions of samples across the continent and doing cutting-edge research to guide the responses on, in several countries and across the continent. The role of the Africa CDC and all the funding partners that have contributed. It has demonstrated that indeed African scientists have a lot to offer, and if the support is given, we can be globally competitive. So that's one of the things that we have learned from this pandemic. The second thing that we've learned is that actually the African population can be brought along to enjoy science and engage in science. In Ghana, for example, now words like variants and vaccine efficacy, PCR, antigen testing, these are words that nobody was mentioning prior to the pandemic. But since the pandemic and the contributions that scientists have made, these have become kitchen table words now. And our mothers and grandmothers talk about these things, talk about Delta variants, and they talk about AstraZeneca vaccine and Pfizer vaccine and all this. These are things that didn't happen before. And they are a good sign that we can engage the people and get them interested in what we are doing. And they can support what we are doing, both the general public and the government as a whole. In Ghana, I remember when the president used to give weekly addresses. Every time he was going to give an address, his team will reach out to us and ask about what variants are in the country, and that is a good sign. That makes it feel good that science is reaching where it's supposed to reach, and people are appreciating the importance of science. So that's the second lesson from this for me. The third lesson, which is the reality check, which is that in spite of the 1 and 2 I've talked about, Africa, we're still far behind. We're lagging behind. That's why we are sitting here. Less than 1% of our population has been vaccinated. Other countries are approaching 80%, getting at least one dose. And we are still waiting for others to pass on vaccines to us. And that is really the biggest lesson we should take from this, that we should all resolve that not again should we allow ourselves to be in such a vulnerable situation in the future. So we should start preparing for the next pandemic right now. I think if all the African governments or the African leaders, not only those currently in power, but those who have been in power in the past, I think that they'll be feeling ashamed that they've allowed the continent to be in this situation. And I think that should be a lesson for the current leaders and those going forward that we need to change that. We need to resolve that Africa should never be in this situation when the next pandemic comes along. All right, so it's promising to be a great conference. We have a great lineup of speakers, keynote speakers, as well as some of our plenary speakers, and then our fellows showcasing their research. So today we are glad to be joined by so many distinguished people across the world. I'll try to acknowledge those that I can see and those that are online as well. The Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Nsia Sari, is with us. We have in the room the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Yes, Dr. Jinapo is here. He's here with his team, Mr. Edmond, who is part of the team at GTEC. We have members of the College of Basic and Applied Sciences Advisory Board. Some of them are here and online. We thank them for joining. The Provost of the college is with us. We have the Provost for Research here. We have deans and directors joining us. I'll introduce some of them later. We have the WACCBIP Advisory Board Chair, Professor Kivgor, is joining us online, as well as other advisory board members. I see Dr. Marta Jansa-Lutrot, who's the Director of Technical Coordination. I see Professor Mark Carrington, who's online also. And I think I see Professor Jean Langon, who's one of our collaborators as well. In addition, we have the World Bank team, the World Bank ACE Impact team, led by Himdat. Himdat is online with colleagues from the World Bank. She's the task team leader for the ACE Impact project. We have friends joining us from the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, fellows of the Academy, led by the president, Professor Emeritus Sefadede, is with us. Professor Emerita Isabella Kwachi with us. Thank you very much for joining. We have colleagues from the AAU who are part of the ACE Impact project. The ACE project manager, Dr. Sylvia Kandawiri, and her colleagues are joining us online. From AISA and the African Academy of Sciences, we have Dr. Tom Kariuki and his team. They are joining us. Thank you very much. We have other Delta's program directors joining us. Thank you very much. TIBA, we have the leadership of TIBA joining us. Thank you very much. CRIC Africa Network. I already mentioned Dr. Jean Langon and other partners are with us. The Human Cell Atlas team, some of them are with us. We have the Arua Secretary General, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Aiti. He has joined us. Thank you very much. We have our team from the UGCS, led by the Chief Information Technology Officer. Sito is here with us. Thank you very much. We have, I'm coming back to deans and directors. We have Professor Mark Idana, who's the Dean of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, who is with us, representing the Provost, is online. We have Professor Eric Dankwa, who is the Director of WACCI, one of the big research people in the University of Ghana. We have Professor Dorothy Yeboamenu, who is the Deputy Director for WACCBIP. She's here with us. She's also from the Niguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. And I hope I've covered everybody. Yeah, okay, I think I've covered everybody. So we're going to get started. I'm going to call I'm going to introduce the chair, and then I'll call other dignitaries to join him on the table up here, and then we get started. So it's my pleasure to introduce the chair for this function. So the chair for today holds his BSc and MPhil in Agric Economics from the University of Ghana. He also did his PhD in Agric Science with specialization in Agric Economics from the University of Bonn. And prior to his current position, he has been the head of department of the Economics Division of the Institute for Statistical, Social, and Economic Research, that's ISE. He also became deputy director and then director of ISE. On the national level, he is the chair of the Council of the Ghana Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, and president of the Ghana Association of Agric Economics. On the international stage, he is a board member of the International Center for Evaluation Development based in Kenya. So currently, he's the Pro Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation, and Development here in this great University of Ghana. So it's my honor to welcome.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media, colleagues joining us online from other parts of Ghana and the world, and in person, I wish to welcome you all to the 5th West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens Research Conference. I'm delighted to be asked to chair the opening session of this conference on the theme, Building Sustainable Research Capacity in Africa, Lessons from the Pandemic. I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you all to the University of Ghana. The West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, established in 2014 at the University of Ghana, is supported by the government of Ghana through the World Bank African Centers of Excellence project and the Deltas Africa Initiative. The University of Ghana is happy to host this center because its activities fit into the broader vision of the university, which is to become a world-class research-intensive university. Since its establishment in 2014, WACCBIP has provided fellowship to 164 master students, 92 PhD students, 22 postdoctoral fellows from 14 different African countries. WACCBIP's research has contributed significantly to the response to the current COVID-19 pandemic in Ghana through a generation of real-time data on genomic sequencing and seroprevalence studies. This work has provided key information on the prevalence of COVID-19 and the distribution of SARS-CoV-2 variant to better inform public health interventions, including infection control measures and vaccine deployment. And with this achievement, WACCBIP is a major hub for biomedical research in the West Africa sub-region. WACCBIP has leveraged the African Centers of Excellence project to win over $20 million in additional grants from other global funding agencies, including the Wellcome Trust of the UK, National Institutes of Health in the US, Royal Society in the UK, and recently the Open Society through the African Research University Alliance, ARUA. These are initiatives to ensure that the center is sustainable and also be able to contribute to support the university to achieve its research-intensive vision and the country at large. On research impact, WACCBIP has produced over 250 publications, which are published in high-impact journals, and also contributed to public health policies. During this 3-day conference, some of these will be presented by its fellows and members of the Center's international faculty drawn from institutions across the world. The University of Ghana, through its Office of Research, Innovation and Development, will continue to support WACCBIP in its activities to achieve its objectives and provide an environment for it to be innovative and efficient. Finally, I welcome you once again to this conference and to the University of Ghana, and I wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Provisi. So we're going to have remarks from some of our stakeholders. Some are online and some are here. So we'll try to take the online ones first, and then we come back here. Dr. Tom Kariuki, if you're online, can we have your remarks? Dr. Tom Kariuki is the Director of Programs at AISA, which stands for Accelerating Excellence in Science in Africa, and the leader of the Deltas program as well. So.
Network and all the other 11 networks of Deltas that have been doing a great job over the last 5 years. And I would like to congratulate WACCBIP network for faithfully abiding to the Delta theory of change. The theory of change was an agreement that we signed together in 2015 with the University of Ghana, where you are hosted as a lead organization. Let me just highlight a few areas which I think we are very satisfied to see the successes of this network. The center applied for 5 years of support and then additional 1 year of cost extension from us, and that was approved, and hoping that all the completion will be available to everyone by the end of August this year. And COVID has been a challenge for all of us, and WACCBIP researchers and fellows, we want to congratulate you for the expertise in biology, immunology, bioinformatics and genetics that you have been actively involved for COVID-19 related research over the past 1 year. And we are aware that you have been involved in national response with the government of Ghana for activities including the processing and testing of samples, validation of testing of kits for analysis, sequencing for COVID pathogen, and analysis of genome sequencing. So I want to congratulate all of those of the researchers of WACCBIP who have been involved in these activities. One of the pillars for Deltas Africa is been scientific quality and how we can build excellence. And WACCBIP has told us that you have set up a strategic planning committee with the mandate of developing a plan for WACCBIP for the next 5 years. So we'll be looking forward to hear a little bit more about that strategy. I want to recommend that we are aware of many articles, a few hundred now, directly associated with WACCBIP, the network itself, and specifically for the Deltas Award, more than 70 articles out of you. I just want to challenge you on one particular aspect of this, Gordon and the team, which is that when it comes to publications, outputs, or outcomes of Deltas Africa, it should really reflect diversity, it should reflect equity and inclusivity. And when I look at the data that we have, is that there is still a huge proportion of male authors compared to female authors. Maybe you can provide us with more data on it, but we know that 82% of publications are coming from male and only 13% is coming from the female. And so I think collectively we can begin to understand how we can right that wrong and how we can make sure that there is this diversity and inclusivity. On area of research training, I congratulate you and the team for all the postdoctoral fellows who have completed your fellowship and publishing as you go along. And we also want to see that it's been very impressive to see the number of interns, master's fellows, PhD fellows, postdoctoral fellows, a total of 32 postdoctoral fellows who have come through this network. We have also been tracking with the scientific citizenship on how you are doing your immunology, bioinformatics, genetics, and how the public engagement events and media communication are being done. And I'm aware that there is even a toolkit for genetics hearing impairment, which we are working with Apple's Wonecon to make it a toolkit that is being available for anybody who are suffering from hearing impairment. Then, of course, I want to say that on research management and environment, our role and our collaboration with you is to have a center that has awarded additional grants, even as Deltas now moves from Deltas 1 to Deltas 2. We want to see, of course, acquired more funding coming through to your center, and I know you have been very successful in doing that. So overall, I would say that this has been really a beautiful pipeline of producing globally competitive African scientists that are driving data sciences, decision making at national and global level. And we hope that there will be sustainable research ecosystem within the WACCBIP network institutions established over the coming years. But let me finish off Professor Wandere and the team and all the distinguished guests. The future of Deltas Africa is at the point where we are making decisions about the future. Congratulations to Professor Wandere and the team for putting in a very strong application for Deltas Africa 2. And we have been in communication with this team. We therefore have made a conditional award to WACCBIP. So congratulations to Gordon and the team. But this is still pending before final awards are done later as the funders and other partners agree on moving forward. And just to remind everyone that we as the managers for Deltas Africa and what we are supported and are uniformity in our decisions with our funders, including Welcome FCDO, which is formerly DFID. There is therefore an undergoing change at the AS. So after 5 years of being hosted at the AS, the key flagship programs, including Deltas Africa, there are funders who have said they will be transitioning out into a new dispensation, and therefore there is change underway. Communication has been shared recently with the Deltas leaders and other grantees. We expect that there will be changes in the grant conditions of 31st July 2021 due to funding flow changes. Communication will be sent to all the grantees after 31st of July on how their funding will be sustained to avoid disrupt to the research work. So this change and the future will ensure that business continues to consolidate and expand the key programs that are delivering science and innovation in Africa. And therefore, I would like to end by saying that all of this, of course, is being done jointly, fully supported by all the various stakeholders, including the funders, the African entities, and all the other key stakeholders as we move forward to sustain good work that is being done. So congratulations to WACCBIP, and thank you, Gordon Wandere and the team for the opportunity to share those thoughts this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tom Kariuki. All right, we're going to take quick comments from the other guests who are online. Professor Abraham Anang, Director of Niguchi, if he's online, can make some brief remarks.
Hello, good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
I'm very happy to be on the platform at this WACCBIP conference. And I'd like to say congratulations to WACCBIP for organizing a conference, especially at this time of the pandemic. And also I'd like to acknowledge that Niguchi and WACCBIP has a very long history. As the establishment of WACCBIP itself was done by collaboration between Niguchi, Memorial Institute for Medical Research of the University of Ghana, and the Biochemistry and Molecular Biology Department of Ghana. And WACCBIP is a partner that we have worked with very strongly over the years. And I wish to acknowledge that since the COVID-19 pandemic emerged in 2020, of course from 2019 late to 2019, but especially in 2020, our response and working with WACCBIP has been a very good partnership collaboration. And we've worked with WACCBIP and at Niguchi being the main early testing center for COVID-19. and getting WACCBIP, human resource capacity to support. We've had a good experience working together to provide evidence for policy decisions by the government of Ghana to be able to manage the pandemic response. We've also shared a good experience with working together on genomic sequencing for COVID-19. We have our specialized programs also going on, and I'm happy to indicate that the Niguchi Memorial for Medical Research is always very pleased to continue to work with WACCBIP. And I believe that the future is going to be bright, especially concerning building sustainable research capacity. So because these are areas that we need to continue to work together to ensure that we are able to put in place systems, capacity that can withstand or can go into the future. Our collaboration to build training at postdoctoral level, PhDs, MPhils, Niguchi, fellows, and helping to build capacity at WACCBIP have all been a very important win-win situation that I'd like to highlight strongly at this meeting. I'd like to once again congratulate Professor Gordon-Awandari and the team at WACCBIP and to encourage them to continue to move in the direction that they are moving, especially also in terms of collaboration and partnerships, and in terms of strengthening the systems for resilience, especially for Ghana, but not only Ghana, but also for the West African sub-region and beyond. It is my pleasure to be on the platform. I hope that I could be heard because the network has not been good at all. And I would like to say congratulations at this time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Father Abraham. And we heard you loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you. Great. We have Himdat from the World Bank, if she's ready. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Gordon, and thank you to all the team. It's fantastic that we're having this event and the hybrid model of face-to-face and virtual linkage. We had a little bit of things, but I think it's worth doing it just because of the impact and the large numbers of professors that can participate to learn from experiences. From the World Bank perspective, the Africa Centers of Excellence program actually is a huge investment in higher education in the sub-region. It is one of our flagship programs. We've been working with Prof. Gordon and team at the University of Ghana since the first project, which was launched in 2014, which the program introduced innovative elements around competitive higher education, where it was a large first-scale regional competition across 9 countries in West Africa, and WACCBIP was one of the top centers that was successful in the selection. And it's really, I say this because it shows that the top quality scientific research and education aspects has gone throughout. I mean, we are now in 2021, and that initial investment back in 2014 or so has grown and shown that with the right opportunities, funding, and the right instruments, the sky is the ceiling in terms of scientific response and the work that has been done so far at the WACCBIP Center. Very briefly, in terms of the actual impact that WACCBIP has had, it's very clear both at the national level, and it's very nice to see the Niguchi Institute part of this discussion, and I think that partnership has been so strong and fundamental to those response, but also at the regional level, because WACCBIP is also a regional center that is supporting not only Ghana, but building the capacity within our sub-region, because infectious diseases is an issue that doesn't only affect one country, but it crosses borders, and building that scientific capacity within our within our countries and within our continent, doing the testing, the thousands and thousands of samples that have been done, within WACCBIP, but also the genomic sequencing. And here, this is something that is super important to understand where the viruses are coming from, how they're spreading. And WACCBIP is one of our several centers. We also have the famous African Center of Excellence of Infectious Diseases, ACEGID, that is working so collaboratively with WACCBIP. And in terms of the education side, because right now I know the conference is focused very much on the applied research, which is excellent, but at the education level as well, in terms of the master's program, in terms of the training program, in terms of training the trainers that are able to continue this, not only now but in the future, it's also fundamental to the role of the work being done. And I'm happy that the partnership with Africa Academy of Sciences, in terms of the quality aspect, that is also super important. And we've seen the international accreditation of the programs that WACCBIP, we've seen the improved teaching and learning environment with the building that we're probably sitting in right now, funded to the ACE. It is very important that the right labs and the right technical centrifuge or bioinformatics systems, you name it, is available to the students to allow them to do this top level work. And I always, reference Prof. Gordon's work. He was one of the groundbreakers when it came to getting international accreditation. I know that leadership and the strong support from the university management, the rector, the vice chancellor, and the government, it's all an enabling environment to support the success of the center. The center is not an island of excellence on its own. It is important that the work being done there is also integrated into the University of Ghana and also into the national system in Ghana and the regional scientific response as well. So I'll stop there and just say a super thank you to everyone that is connected. I saw a very rich discussion with a lot of fellows and various researchers, and I'll try and join in. But congratulations to the team, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Himdad. If we have the president of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Emeritus Professor Sefadede, if he's online, can do his remarks.
Distinguished participants to this very important conference, I bring you warm greetings from the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Gordon Awandare is a fellow of the Academy, and we've been following his leadership in bringing together the core of scientists to address critical national problems. It's a delight to know the role the center is playing both locally and internationally. We at the Academy are privileged to have him as a fellow and see to other young scientists to leadership in the scientific arena. We would like to wish you well as you develop WACCBIP to higher and higher levels, and also new programs that will help anchor science in national development. The theme of your conference, looking at lessons from the pandemic, and I can say that your center and other centers have shown that the scientists are needed to solving critical national problems. We wish to encourage you to continue on this effort so that those who take national policy decisions will recognize the importance in investing in scientists for helping in solving critical national problems, especially if they are based within our own countries. On this note, I would like to thank you for the invitation to the Academy, and I'm sure that fellows of the Academy will participate fully in this conference, and we wish you well as you proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Okay. Is there anybody else online? No? Okay. So we'll now come here and we take our remarks from the Deputy Director General, GTEC, Dr. Ahmed Jinapo.
The Pro-Vice-Chancellor, who sits in as the chairman for this occasion. As I was introduced, my name is Ahmed Jinapo. I work with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, a body that came about as a result of the coming into being of the erstwhile National Council for Tertiary Education and the National Accreditation Board. I stand here on behalf of the Commission and the Director General, Professor Mobir Salifu, who should have been here, but unfortunately, he happens to be at another very important program. He congratulates you for your 5th conference. It's not something that is easy to be done. And he wants me to inform you that he's fully in support of what you are doing. And the Commission has always demonstrated its commitment to supporting bodies like yours through the Africa Center of Excellence. In fact, not too long ago, somewhere in May, we came here to visit and to more or less have engagements with you relative to what you've been doing. Now I go back to the topic or the theme for this conference, building sustainable research capacity in Africa, lessons from the pandemic. I know during this 3-day conference, a lot of lessons are going to be brought up. But one thing that I want to stand on relative to the address by the director had to do with the kind of encouragement and happiness that he had when the center, and specifically him, was consulted on a number of occasions when the president was about to speak. I think the refreshment that comes with it also needs to raise our consciousness of the need for a synergy or the need for a strong relationship between research, academic, and policy. In fact, if there is any lesson that, for me, emanated from this pandemic, then the responses, it is very, very important for whatever we do in the four corners of the academic environment to be connected to what happens in society or policy, so to speak. Because this pandemic, disastrous as it's been, has put WACCBIP at the center of the relevance of academia to national development and societal developmental aspirations. And I think on that note, it is very important for WACCBIP to be applauded for taking a central role at a time that we were so challenged that we didn't know where to go. I think WACCBIP deserves a hand of applause. And once I speak to the commendation of WACCBIP, I think the leadership that was demonstrated by the director is also worthy of commendation. In the sense that I think most people probably never heard of the name Awandare, even in the four corners of this university. But by the unfortunate incidents of COVID-19 and the central role that he played, today that name is a name that, at least, once it is mentioned, it is associated with what? COVID-19 in Ghana. Let's give him a hand of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by stating that well, a number of students here who aspire to be what most of these important individuals who have just spoken want to be. And I must say, my boss happens to be a very good friend of the director of this center. In fact, he refers to him as patron. I don't know what patron means, but when I see him call him patron with another patron sitting here, Professor Eric Dankwa, and I see the way they relate and they fraternize, it becomes amazing and refreshing. And sometimes I ask myself, I mean, these are, excuse me to say, ordinary Africans, black people who probably came from nowhere, who could they have gotten to where they are? But what inspires me and what I want to share with you, and it goes back to the topic, lessons from the pandemic, is that whatever you are doing, you do it and do it well. If you are a scientist and you know the consequences of being in science, the difficulty and challenges that is associated with science in this part of our world, you cannot going in half prepared. You can only succeed if you do it well. Today we are celebrating WACCBIP because the director, whatever he's doing it well. Tomorrow we'll be celebrating WACCBIP because whatever the director is doing, he's doing it well. So I will leave you with this message, that in as much as you believe in what you are doing, you have to do it and do it well. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jinabo, for the excellent message and for the kind words to me and to WACCBIP. I would like to just say that I'm just the voice of a lot of people. There's so many people who spend sleepless nights working to produce the data that I can communicate to government and also talk about in the media and inform the people. So we have something that we call the WACCBIP machine. So many people are involved in making the machine work, from cleaners to drivers to professors. So this is credit to the entire machine. All right, thank you. So Dr. Nsiasare is online to do the formal opening. After that, we'll move straight to the keynote speech today, and then we would wrap up. So I think we should be done by 12. So Dr. Nsiasare is the Presidential Advisor on Health and one of our partners in the COVID-19 fight. So he would give some remarks and then formally open the conference. Thank you.
The Pro-Vice Chancellor and the Chairperson for this occasion, all protocols observed. I'm very happy to be invited this morning to join you, especially at this time that the whole country is fighting an imminent third wave, or we're already in the third wave. On behalf of the President and on behalf of the government, I say a big thank you to all of you, especially to Professor Awadare and his group for the good work that they've been doing for Mother Ghana. To the West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens, Ghana has been able to be doing genomic sequencing together also with what the Niguchi is doing and the University of Health and Allied Sciences is also doing. I'm very happy that at least we can pinpoint the different variants which are coming into the country. And we are very grateful to all the 3 centers who have been helping us in this direction. This is exactly what one of the earlier speakers said, the collaboration between scientists, academia, and policymakers. We want to do this so that Ghana becomes one of the hubs for manufacturing of vaccine. As you are all aware, His Excellency the President has formed a committee which is chaired by eminent scientist Professor Francisca, former Minister for MISTI. The committee is working around the clock to make sure that Ghana becomes a vaccine production country, and if not even for the country, for the West Africa sub-region of Africa sub-region. The committee is working assiduously towards that. And we know that the committee cannot work without the academia, without the scientists. We're working closely with the scientists in the various universities, and West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Diseases is one of them. We are hopeful that through the good work that you are doing at the center, and together with Niguchi and other centers, we'll be able, maybe one day, very soon, come out with our own candidate vaccine. You know, you are equal to the tax, you have the requisite people to do it. We, as a committee, have also been talking seriously how to make sure that we make the University of Ghana and its centers also very much put into place so that they can also do their best through technology transfer, human resources, capacity building, and also making sure that we get the necessary equipment to work. We hope that together with the private sector, we should be able to do this and do it as quickly as possible. We are very happy that you continue to be working, even though the resources, and together as a country, we come out very strong out of this pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught the whole globe a lesson, and what we have learned from it is that we have to be self-sufficient in a lot of things that we are doing. Move so that what go to also act with manufacturing countries in the world will do it, and we are going to make sure that we do it together with all of you, with the academia, with the scientific societies, with the scientists, with everybody who matters, so that together we put this country at a stage where everybody will look at Ghana as the hub for production of vaccines. We want to make sure, from what the African Union has said, that by the year 2040, we should be able to manufacture about 40% of the vaccines that we use in Africa, as compared to now that only 1% is manufactured here, and 99% of all our vaccines that we use, both for EPI and also for other vaccines, through importation. We believe strongly that we have the men and the women, we have the scientists, and we can use them appropriately, and we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. On that note, I'll say another big thank you to you, especially personally for inviting me to be part of this important conference and also to open the conference. I didn't know I was the one going to open the conference. So I'll take this opportunity to officially open the conference, and I hope that all the things that you are going to talk about, the decisions that you will take, will also be made available to government and to the president, so that together we move this country forward. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you. And I hope and I pray that you are going to have a very fruitful 3-day conference, which will be to the benefit of Ghana. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsiansari. Please extend our regards to the president. I'm sure he's watching now on Zoom, so. All right, thank you. Thank you. So we're going to go to the keynote address. So I think if you want to sit here so you can see the presentation well, and then after that we take the closing remarks. Okay, good. So it's my pleasure to introduce my friend and my sister, who happens to be from Zimbabwe, where their president enjoyed one of our distinguished ladies, and so they are our eternal in-laws. So I hope all of you know that that the legendary President Mugabe, came in here and took a wife at some point. And so Francisca and I, we've been bargaining about how to compensate Ghana for that, given how successful Mugabe has become. Okay, so Francisca is a professor in global health, infection, and immunity at the University of Edinburgh. She's also the deputy director for the Tackling Infections to Benefit Africa, better known as TIBA partnership. and the co-director of the Global Health Academy at the University of Edinburgh. She's an award-winning pioneering researcher, a global health research leader, focusing on infectious diseases. She has made extraordinary contributions to combating neglected tropical diseases in Africa and empowering African scientists to be globally competitive. She sits on several reputable advisory bodies on the global level. A few include the WHO Africa Regional Directors Advisory Board, the UK government's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, which is formerly known as DFID, now known as FCDO, their Science Advisory Group, the UK Research and Innovation, the UKRI, Global Challenges Research Fund Strategic Advisory Group, and very close to home, the Hideo Niguchi Africa Prize Selection Committee. She's on that committee. She's a fellow of the Zimbabwe Academy of Sciences, fellow of the African Academy of Sciences, and a fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh. This year has been a very successful year for her. She was selected as one of the 2021 Aspen New Voices Fellows, and also as a TED Fellow. She, outside of science, is an artist and a philanthropist. And she gives away money to people, including athletes and all kinds of people. So you can talk to her after this. So my pleasure to present Professor Francisca Mutapi.
As my colleague and friend Gordon Awandare said, I have met Gordon through many different paths. Initially as one of the reviewers of the Deltas program in Africa, so I can only echo the pride and goodwill and congratulations that my friend and colleague Tom Kariuki has already passed on to Deltas, and of course the goodwill from the Ghana fraternity, as they have been speaking earlier on. So I have been invited to talk about Africa-led science, what that looks like during a global pandemic. And I'm going to talk about this from the TIBA perspective. TIBA is another one of Professor Gordon Awandare's successes, because we became part of the WACCBIP family, I think in 2017, as a research partnership funded by the UK government. So, what does TIBA mean? See if we can get this to move. I'm not having a good technical, oh dear. I will keep trying. No, it's not working. I shall try resharing that. Hope that we'll get somewhere. Okay, great. So, can you see that, please? Can somebody say? Could somebody please confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Thank you. So, after all this excitement, so TIBA stands for Tackling Infections to Benefit Africa. For the Swahili speakers in the room, it also means to cure an infection. It is an Africa-led, wide-ranging, multidisciplinary research program that empowers African scientists to tackle infectious diseases and strengthen epidemic preparedness. Oh dear, so that's gone all the way to the end. Oh, great. I'm not having a good... I think we can all go home. I think we can all go home now. We've seen the whole talk. Let's try again. Okay, so there we go. TIBA is represented in 9 African countries, of which Ghana is over here. You can see is one of our partners. Our leadership is as follows. We have a director, Professor Mark Woolhouse, and he's supported here by his 2 co-deputy directors, myself and our colleague from KZN in South Africa. Each of the TIBA partner countries, we have a PI, and you can see yours truly here in the corner. That's Professor Gordon Awandare, representing TIBA Ghana. We also work with centers of excellence at the University of Edinburgh, represented here, and colleagues in the pharma industry. As you've already heard, WACCBIP is a data production machine. It is a lab-based machine, and this is reflected in all the other TIBA partner countries. We are all lab scientists. We generate scientific evidence and information. We alone cannot translate this into health benefits. We need the input of specific partners, very important strategic partners, and these are the ones at the bottom here. Ministries of health in each of those countries play an important role, and I'm absolutely delighted to see representation of the Ministry of Health in Ghana present at WACCBIP's conference today. We also work with our colleagues at the African Academy of Sciences, both the AAS and IESA, and again, real fantastic support from our colleagues and friends led by Tom Kariuki there. The African Union is a very important stakeholder for TIBA, and work with the technical wing, ALDA-NEPA, and of course our World Health Organization regional office, WHO Afro. TIBA has a set of values and aims. We have 4 values. We are Africa-led, so all the science that TIBA does is suggested by and led by our partners in the African countries. We are shifting the center of gravity to Africa so that decisions of health prioritization of what should be funded and what should be researched are set by our African colleagues. We believe in inclusive engagement, so from the community to the scientists, to the Ministry of Health, and to the policymaker and stakeholder who funds any interventions. And then back to the community, because without the community uptake and buy-in, we cannot implement any interventions. And then finally, our partnerships are equitable. So TIBA has a budget, well, we started off with a budget of about £7 million funded for by the UK government through NIHR. 80% of that is spent in Africa by the African partners, because this is supposed to be really showing transformative partnership that is progressive. We also have several aims. The 4 aims of TIBA are first to improve diagnosis of infection and disease as well as surveillance, to improve deployment of existing drugs, vaccinations and treatments, enhance local capacity to develop new interventions, and improve management of endemic and epidemic diseases. And it is this last one that we are all discussing today in terms of how we have responded to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that last aim is captured in TIBA through our work package 6, our emergency response package. And we deliver the work of this in 4 different ways. First, by supporting the development of field diagnostics. So this is a portable mean iron. I have specifically chosen this because of its relevance to COVID. So this is a field diagnostic for viral infections. TIBA advocates the sharing of resources and data, which is represented here by our genomic data. TIBA has been working to capacitate real-time genomic sequencing and analysis. And at this stage, I am not embarrassed at all to share a large part of the credit that has allowed WACCBIP and a whole lot of other African institutions to lead in this emergency response in sequencing. Because in 2018, TIBA put together a training package for real-time genomic sequencing for viruses. And I'm even more delighted to say that that training workshop, which attracted over 23 scientists from about 15 countries in Africa, was hosted and co-run by WACCBIP. So this is a photograph here of the team being trained in this at WACCBIP, really preempting the need for this technology when we did have the COVID pandemic. So I can talk for the rest of the day on this because of the pride that TIBA shares in this, but I won't. I think it's enough for you today. The 4th one is maintaining resilience in health systems. So you can see here a photograph from 2019. So this is myself joining a group of Zimbabweans who were meeting the then UK Minister for Africa. And what we were doing at this meeting was discussing the UK's response to the cyclone Idai, which devastated a lot of southern Africa, including Zimbabwe. And the issue here was, where do we put our money? Do we put our money in housing people, providing food? And I was arguing at that meeting that what we need to do is prioritize maintaining resilience in the health system, because the long-term impact of the cyclone would take its toll on people's health for years afterwards if we did not protect the health system. And I'm delighted to say that the UK government took this on board and did put some funding towards maintaining the resilience of the Zimbabwe health system. But what have we actually done during the pandemic? Well, TIBA's approach has been twofold. We've had in-country responses and research, such as what's beautifully highlighted here by WACCBIP, but we've also had a continental response. And that continental response has really been led by a team in Edinburgh, because everybody else in country has been busy focusing in country. So we have been looking at the global picture in Africa. We've had a team that's really a large team, and you can see myself and our director at the bottom here. And this team has been involved in two main pieces of work. First has been data-driven research looking at the epidemiology, the genome sequencing, mitigation strategy, and testing capacity of SARS-CoV-2 in Africa. And the second bit has been laboratory and public health research to support our colleagues in WHO Afro, and of course to conduct basic scientific research to inform us on a bit more about COVID-19, because of course we don't want to just wait for research and information from other countries or other continents to inform what's going on the ground in Africa. So this is what sort of outputs that we've got from this analysis. The first one is the Epidemic Situational Report. TIBA produces every week an analysis or a synthesis of the WHO Afro data on the epidemic in Africa. We do this work in collaboration with our colleagues at WHO Afro. So we get the raw data and we synthesize it, and I shall show you some of what we've done beyond producing this. We have also produced testing reports, so the capacity to test for COVID-19 in all the African countries that are member states of the WHO Afro. And we've also looked at mitigation strategies, and this work was really mostly based in our TIBA partner countries to look at what has worked, what hasn't worked, how can we improve this by learning best practices from other countries. Now, all this information is available on the TIBA webpage with the link here. So if you would like to receive our weekly update on the epidemic in Africa, please do sign up on our webpage. We issue this to anybody who's interested every week. In addition to those reports, our work on that training workshop in 2018 from Ghana has now been extended in East Africa, led by our colleagues in TIBA, Kenya. And of course, at the end of the day, all this work we're doing to support our WHO Afro director and her team. So occasionally you'll see myself, our director, Professor Mutapi, so any other team members of TIBA supporting the director in her press briefings. So what have we learned about Africa's epidemic? So what I have here is an example of the synthesis of the data. We're looking at weekly cases from the start of the epidemic all the way to the second wave, the beginning of the second wave this year. So this is a movie which I'm going to run a little bit, and I will speed up, otherwise we'll be here all morning. And what this work is doing is looking at changes in the number of cases or deaths, and it tells us things like the doubling time. So if we look here, 0 means there are no cases, and 2 or greater than 2 means that the size of the epidemic is doubling every week. And what we can see as the map changes color is that cases have been very heterogeneous. Sometimes you have a small blip or a peak in a country, and this changes. And what we have been able to do is to summarize that. So if I speed this up a little bit, you can see when our first peak was in Africa there, and then I can continue the movie right up to where we were at the beginning of second wave. We can then take some summary data to let us know, and this is important for our continental bodies such as WHO Afro and the African Union for planning as to where to be looking to put a lot of resources. So here is a summary, looking at the daily new cases in WHO Afro member states. And you can see in blue South Africa and in purple the rest of Africa. And this is again looking at the beginning of the epidemic all the way up to January this year. And what this tells you is that the number of new cases in South Africa alone was much, much higher than that in the rest of Africa put together. And this is also the case with daily new deaths. So obviously South Africa is suffering, is bearing the brunt of COVID-19 in Africa. So So where are we in terms of the third wave? Well, this is from our situational report, the one that I've just mentioned, from last Friday on the 15th of July. And these are exactly the same maps that I've been showing, and that map on the movie is represented here in the bottom. But please don't scrunch your eyes to see that. The bits that I'd like you to concentrate on are these two graphs here. So you can clearly see here total number of reported cases in Africa and the total number of reported deaths on the first wave, the second wave, and the third wave. And the bit I really would like to draw your attention to is this third wave here, because what we're beginning to see is that that third wave looks like it's beginning to turn, it's beginning to go down. Now, this will be fantastic news for the continent. Obviously, I cannot say this with complete certainty. It's more hope than certainty at the moment, but a few more weeks of data will be able to confirm if we really have seen the worst of the third wave. Obviously, the number of cases will be ahead of the number of deaths. So even after the number of cases has turned, we might see that the number of deaths is still rising. And this kind of information is very important for our continental bodies to plan ahead. In addition to synthesizing the information, we also want information that we can act on in future. And our team in Edinburgh has been working with our colleagues at WHO Afro to look at predictors of the date of the first case and the first wave per capita mortality. This is important because it informs our preparedness for the next epidemic. So, what we have done, we've taken all the data for the WHO Afro countries and mapped for each country in red boxes here, the day that the first case was recorded in that country, and also in green here, the day that the first death from COVID was recorded in that country. And we've asked the question, what could predict this? What do we need to know when a country would record its first case or when it would record its first death? We've done this by analyzing a whole lot of predictors. Again, a microscopic slide here. Please take my word for it. It's got 19 predictors that we tested through Cox regression, univariate and multivariate. And we looked at several of these predictors, and only 3 came up as significant predictors. They were urban population, so the size of the urban population, the volume and traffic of international travel prior to the first case of COVID, and the number of neighbors who have testing capacity. Now, these seem obvious. We know that from the transmission dynamics of SARS-CoV-2 that a concentrated population, mostly indoors, with a lot of physical interaction, is a risk factor for transmission. And therefore, urban population does not come as a surprise. Secondly, international travel allows the seeding of the virus from other countries, and therefore that is no surprise. And finally, of course, if your neighbors can test and they can detect their first case, you will be looking for yours as soon as you know that it is around. And therefore, that one also comes as no surprise. So the way we interpret these predictors is that they were expected, and therefore they demonstrate the validity and utility of the data that WHO Afro member countries have been producing. Now, this is really important because of all the doubts and information that was being expressed early on in the pandemic that Africa was not able to generate useful data or reliable data. Well, I'm sorry, this is the evidence that shows that we can, and we did. And we can take this further on and look at the predictors of the first wave per capita mortality. Again, 19 predictors put in the model. We used a Poisson model for univariate and multivariate analysis. We had 3 significant predictors: the urban population, the international travel, and HIV prevalence. And how do we interpret this? Well, urban population, again, high transmission settings are favorable to the COVID-19 transmission. International travel allows widespread seeding. And HIV prevalence is an interesting one because we don't think HIV itself is causative of that mortality, but we think HIV is a good proxy of a whole lot of other confounders that are captured in the HIV prevalence. So HIV prevalence looks like it is indicating a vulnerable population. We're very excited about this work. We're currently writing it up, and hopefully it will be published within the next month, if not at the end of this month.